I want to thank you for your past support of the athletic department. And as you probably know, the key element for any sport is recruiting. Without good recruits, you just don't do very well. So we find that today that recruits are committing earlier and earlier, and we're having to travel more and more privately in order to cover all the ground that we have to cover and to get to people on time and on schedule. You can probably most directly influence the outcome on the court or on the playing field by helping us in recruiting, and the way that you can do this most directly is through private aircraft. So you can either donate aircraft that you may have access to, or donate to the Husker Airplane Fund, donate cash amounts that we can then use to rent private aircraft. It's estimated that football will need about 200 hours of private flight time this next year, with concentrations in December and January, and then again from the middle of April to the end of May. Those are the key times. There may be some other times, but those will be the greatest concentration of hours. So we can let you know if you own an aircraft in advance, and we can plan better as to when your aircraft might be available to us. And then men's basketball is estimating that they need about 125 hours of private aircraft flight time. That will be pretty much interspersed throughout the year, with concentrations again in April and July. Those will be the greatest needs for men's basketball. So you'll hear from the coaches in a short bit, Bo Pelini, and also from Tim Miles, and they can explain a little bit further what their needs are. But I just want to thank you for your past support, and would like to encourage you to consider helping us with private aircraft as we move forward into this next year. Thank you very much.
And once again, I echo what Coach said, to say thank you and appreciate all you guys being here and everything you do for us. First, I know you know most of our staff, but Rich Fisher, our wide receiver coach, Rick Kaczynski, our defensive end coach, John Garrison, offensive line, Tim Beck, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks, Ron Brown, coaches our running backs, Barney Cotton, coaches our offensive line, Austin Everson, who he works in our recruiting. I'm sure you guys will deal with Austin a lot. He works in the operations side of things. Defensive coordinator John Puchis, secondary coach Terry Joseph, and Ross Ellis, our linebacker coach, and obviously Jeff Jamrog, our football operations guy. And I know you guys who I've flown with, especially, my time happens more during the month of December after the championship game up until signing day. That's kind of, I have about usually four or 5 weeks where I can go out and I have to go see all our, I like to sit down with each one of our commitments personally. And so I'm jumping from sometimes 2-3 places in a day, and sometimes up to 10 to 15 places in a week during that time. And obviously, if I'm getting on commercial aircraft, there's just no way that could be done. Now, if I'm flying, obviously, if I'm just flying from here to Chicago or from here to Denver, that's easy. It's when you're hopping, you're going to a couple places each day, but guys fall off the board, other guys become interested, guys start committing, decommitting, all those things happen. And it really changes sometimes day to day. And it changes where we have to be and how, when we have to be there. And so if you guys sometimes maybe wonder, gosh, why couldn't they give me a little bit more of a window? That's usually why that happens during that time of year. Just so you guys understand that, just don't think that, we just want you, we believe you should drop everything for us. We understand that can't happen, but there are some things that are in our control, and there's many things in the recruiting process, unfortunately, that are out of our control. But as far as the recruiting and signing this class of 25, we are all over the place. And we believe if we can get the best players out there and supplement them with obviously our in-state kids and our walk-on program, we can compete with anybody in the country. That's what we're all after. Understand, you guys are part of our team, and for us to be able to compete at a national level and get them be able to reach the kids we need to reach. It's something that we feel is very probably not only a necessity, but something that's going to give us a chance to overcome the odds and overcome some of the competition that's out there. Because let's face it, other people are doing it, and you know they're there. Well, you know, the worst thing that can happen is when you talk to a recruit on the phone and they say, you know, they were there. How come you couldn't get to them? Well, you know, that's a bad feeling, and because you feel like you're not doing your job the right way. And I know a lot of places. When I was at LSU, I did most of my recruiting in the car. And when I went out, I was driving around. I was in Louisiana and the surrounding states, through Mississippi and Alabama. You could spend most of your time in a car. Unfortunately, here you got to be in a plane a lot of the time. That's where you guys come in. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a kind of understanding of. I know you hear about it, but and I know a lot of you guys have seen it who have flown us, but. It's a volatile deal, especially when you start getting it into December and January, as far as trying to get 17 to 19-year-old kids to say yes and make up their mind. You guys have all had kids; it's no fun. So, but once again, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate it. And,
Hi, I'm Tim. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys and your generosity. I want to introduce my staff just quickly. We've got a whole bunch of them over here. Chris Harriman, one of our assistant coaches. Ben Johnson. Jay Olson, who's my ops guy who you'll deal with. Ron Coleman. And Craig Smith. Those guys, you know, Ben was at Northern Iowa, part of that group that went to the Sweet 16. They beat Kansas when they were 1 seed. This year, Chris was with St. Louis and Rick Majerus, and you guys won 1 game in the NCAA tournament. And then Craig and I, Ron, and Jaden were all at CSU, where we got beat in the first round against Murray State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So there was a little bit of NCAA experience, some winning, you know, which is the whole deal. But at the same time, we are committed to local recruiting. But when I look at things, the only thing we don't have is steady access to players that can allow us to compete at the national level and win at the national level. So with that, we can spare no expense when it comes to recruiting. When it comes to getting us out in front of people. And like Bo tells you, we're dealing with people that you all maybe dealt with sons and daughters. Mine are 12 and 8. And they're already difficult. So I can't imagine, you know, what it's like as you raise them older. But we're dealing with young people that there are a lot of things that influence them. But nothing is going to influence them more than us in person. I'm in a different world. Bo's in a different world. When you get to some of those top-level prospects, this is kind of the standard operating procedure. This is almost what the top teams are doing. And when they're waiting on you because your flight's delayed or whatever it is, or you're waiting for your bag or whatever it might be, there's schools like that in our league, Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State. They're not waiting on those guys. I mean, those guys are just there. And so style points do matter that way. They really do. And I think that it's important as you go down and we can consistently get in front of people, you can see our need for mobility. I tell you, in conclusion, we just, you know, I haven't experienced it yet. I know I'm gonna, but just the fact you're here and you're ending up, I know how expensive that is. I know I went through a 3-year process with people, and it's no easy task. We greatly appreciate it. I do feel it's a necessary thing. I believe it's a missing element. The way we travel, the way we put our coaches out there, and this is just me. I need to get those guys out there at times too. I tell them, you prove to me you need the jet, and I'll go to Tom and ask. But you need to prove to me that you're seeing guys that we have a great connection with, we have a real crack at, and that we need to be these 3 kids in Chicago this day. That night we need to be in St. Louis to see those 2 kids, and we need to be in Kansas City for an evening workout, and then we're home. You do that, and they're all legit, yeah, let's go, let's do it. Because that's the kind of productivity we need. We have a finite number of days we can go. They tell us in basketball we can go 130 days, which means if I go out and Ron goes out and Ben goes out all on the same day, that's 3 days. All right? So between our staff, we can go out 100. We know we only have a finite number of days. So obviously, if I'm only going out and seeing 1 kid in 1 day, we're behind. You know, we need to see 2, 3, and 4 prospects in a day, or we're behind. So that's the part about being remote. And that's why you guys are so valuable and so important to us, and we appreciate you. So I just want to thank you for your generosity and hearing us out. You're a huge necessity for us, and thank you in advance for helping us out.
And to finish it off, thank you so much. You mean a lot to us. If there's anything that we're not doing, we want to hear it, because we want this program to be great for you.